Ilyas, good evening. Sorry mate, I don't know if I'm pronouncing that right. I hope I am. But yeah, here's the chance to have a look at those constraints and check out, of course, that the latest update hasn't destroyed any of the work that you guys are doing. Captain ACQ, good evening. So, I'm happy to report so far I've already been in the cockpit, turned a few things on. The ADIA is still aligned, the navigation display is still working, the primary flight display is still working as well, so that's good news. Paul, good evening mate, thank you for joining us. So yeah, all I'm going to do basically is we're going to take off, maybe head across the Irish Sea, check how everything's working in this new, after the new patch, see if we can discover anything that they've broken. I was going to do this in America, but you have to download the extra patch for America, don't you? And I didn't want to do that. I just wanted to check that we still work. So, Paul, they fixed the 320 oscillation at cruise. Really? Well, we'll put that to the test. See what that happens. Captain ACQ, need help? You're streaming right now and the autopilot's not working. How do we get it fixed? Because we're going in circles when I activate it. Right, best thing you can do, and I can advise, is go direct to the next waypoint in your flight plan, or if not the next waypoint, even the waypoint after. Arthur, good evening from Long Island. Have you downloaded the latest American update? Yeah, that'll be good to know. See what that looks like. Do you know where I can buy flight sim at a smaller price, Francesco? I'm afraid I don't. I think everyone's waiting to see if they have a Black Friday sale in a couple of days' time, and see what happens there. So yeah, that's all I can advise at the moment. See what happens on Friday. See how you get on with that. Okay, so I'm just setting a couple of things up here, then we'll hop back into the cockpit and see what's what. Good stuff. So, Captain ACQ, let me know if that works, by the way. If not, I'll see if I can come up with something else. Okay, let me just bring up my chat window here, so I've got you guys alongside me and I can see what's happening whilst flying. Gabriel, good evening. Good stuff. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. And okay, let's pop into the cockpit then. So, as I've already said, I have got a couple of things already up and running. I wanted to check, of course, that the ideas aligned, things like that, and they all seem to do that, so that's nice. And I say this every time we get a new update, it always seems a little bit smoother. And yes, I've gone in, checked that my settings are still the same, and they are, so there's nothing major there. So far so good. Captain ACQ still working, fantastic. Arthur, if you didn't know, if you're on Long Island, the flight simulator we're in has just done a big update for the American scenery there, so it should look beautiful. However, we're currently sat on the tarmac in Dublin, so we're not going to get any difference here. Alright, so I don't want to spend too much time setting a lot of things up. I just want to almost get in the air and fly, but I will pop a little bit of a flight plan in just to see how that handles and show off the new McDo. So if I said Echo India Delta Whiskey, which is where we are, that's Dublin, and just straight across the Irish Sea, Echo Golf Charlie Charlie, Manchester. Seafold this still works, got a GPS primary update there, we'll clear that. Cost index of 8, just because we're used to EasyJet. And if we went up to, it's not a long flight, but I'll tell you what, let's get up to 22,000 feet. So let's see what happens. AI flights don't land correctly. I only ever have a VATSIM flights on, so I'm not sure about that. Mitch, my autopilot wasn't working, and then Ilias, people can reporting issues with autopilot and heading mode. Would like to confirm this in your stream in order to fix it later on. Absolutely, we shall do that. Francesco, which version of Flight Sim 2020 should you buy? That all depends, really. For me, it wasn't. I mean, I went for the top one. For me, that was just because of the extra airports involved. Good evening, Ludos and Dublin Dares. Welcome to Dublin. Oh, fantastic. Okay, so there's a cruise temperature of 22,000 feet. These are very loose. We don't have to stick to those. Of course, this is a test flight. So with that, so I've got Echo India Delta Whiskey, and we've got Echo Charlie Echo Golf Charlie. I'm just going to pop a couple of waypoints in here. So if we depart from runway 28, it is 28 left now, isn't it? Because they've got an extra runway which is under construction, so that's fine. We don't need we'll not use a SID for this. What we shall do, however, is we will go direct to Liffey, which is over the Irish Sea. FFY, pop that in there. And I love that the fly-by-wire guys have actually displayed these correctly now, so that you can see exactly which one you want. We don't want the one that's 9,500 miles away. ACQ, is there any other way the autopilot can be fixed because it didn't work before? Not really sure, mate. I think going direct at the moment is your best bet. If anyone needs a surgeon, have a doctor. Well, that might be me after this stream. Yes, yeah, we'll have a look at those. We'll pop some of the constraints in just to play around with those, really see what happens. Alright, so have we got working? Are airways working yet? So if I choose from Liffey, the airways key, I'll go Uniform Lima 975, pop that in there, and we go to EDEXA, which is India Delta Echo X-Ray Alpha, pop that in there. So Uniform Lima 975 stayed in there. And then if we take that particular airway all the way to Mallard, well, if we insert that actually first of all, it's just because of the actual airways that this actual route that I've just put in, it only uses one airway, so bad choice really, but that should take us direct to Mallard. So if I just go from index, the next waypoint, MALUD, pop that in there, and where's that gone? Oh, there it is. Insert that. Alright, so there's a couple of things there, and what I'm going to do is, do you know what, we will pop a SID in there. If I can just find one that takes me to Liffey, there we go, the Liffey 6 Alpha. Pop that in, see if that populates, and it does. Let's just check that on the check that in plan mode. Let's see how that works out. Pop the constraints in, see what's happening with those. So we've now got no constraint. Oh yes, we have. So at OE we've got plus 3,000 feet, plus 3,000 feet. And zoom out a little bit just so I can see that. And then we've got Delta Whiskey 024 and Liffey. So I'll tell you what, let's have a little play with those and see if we can just get some sort of constraints going on that, because that this is part of the new update that's just been done by the fly-by-wire team. Was that today, man? I think you told me that was today, so that's how fresh that is. So let's see, if we said by OE we want to be, I'm not going to say 3,000 feet, I'm going to go ahead and have a little play here. So if we go, call that one, we want to be under 2,500 feet, that's set. So at Dublin, which is the next one, if we have a look at that, let's say there we want to be underneath 4,500 feet. Oops, forgot to pop the minus sign in there. Minus 4,500 feet. Pop that in, and then the next waypoint en route is WD024. Let's have a play with that one. Let's say we want to be under 7,000 feet. This will be a steady climb out, but that's the whole point. of a test flight. Return that, and then by Liffey, if we want to be at I'll tell you what, let's call that underneath at 10,000 feet. Alright, so I've messed about with those constraints there just to see what's happening. So yeah, you might need to toggle the constraint button multiple times to see it changes. That's fair enough. So if we do that, so we turn the constraints off, turn them back on again, and there they are, wonderful stuff. All the constraints are as expected now to be. So I'll just turn the flight directors on as well. Zids, just want to say hi, watch the VATSIM video, how to start it off, found it useful, excellent. If you've got any questions on that, now's the time to ask while we're doing this little test flight. So let's get the engine started. Now I've got that program in, I'm also going to see how the aircraft now handles that sort of, it's almost, you can almost give it a sort of a hard crank into getting the VNAV mode, VNAV mode working, can't you, if you've got the constraints there. So we'll see how that plays out. Right, have we got the bleed air going? Yes, we do. Let's get the beacon lights on. Turn on engine master. Just whilst they're doing that, just want to go in and pop a couple of things in here. Zero fuel weight, I have no idea, we're making this up as we go along. However, that's populated that all on its own, so that's lovely. How accurate is that? Is that actually, that is pretty close to what I'd worked it out at before. And block fuel of 4.4. Not spending too much time working about with these just while messing. Daniel, hello, swimming on the floor. You prefer the swimming club to open again after lockdown. How do you swim on the floor without getting friction burn? So if you're in heading mode, you should see the new added line that points in the plane's direction. That's good, because you would obviously normally get that. Does that work on the ground? Should do. There we go. That's the line that has been missing and confusing lots of people, because it has been missing. So those that weren't up on how the A320 works wouldn't have known that that's the direction of travel now, not the dashed green line. So once again, well done for getting that working. Let's get engine 2 rolling. There we are. Transition altitude, and flaps 1 for takeoff. Just get the new V speeds. Format error, VR disagree, that's fine. Disagree again, clear that message. And there we go. So how are we doing? Just waiting for engine 2 to spool up. Then we'll get out of here and see what we can do whilst we're in the air. I must say, it seems to be panning very smoothly this evening. I've not got the frame rate counter up for this, so I don't know how we're doing, but I don't know, is it a placebo effect? Just after every update it does look a little bit smoother. Chris just got here, did the mod break. I took a flight after the update and Autopilot banked me to the ground. I don't think that is a new issue. That is an issue which, make sure your dead zones are set. In fact, that is a very good point. This hasn't changed my controls at all, has it? Let's have a quick look and see. So no, I've still got the dead zone. So if you set those between sort of like anywhere between 13-19%, that seems to work. But that looks okay. They've not changed those. So let's resume. Zids, how did you work out the trim, or does FMC do that for you? FMC does not do that for you. It's all based on the centre of gravity of your aircraft, which you get from the weights page. So top right hand side, it's of this menu here, it says centre of gravity, and then if I can just give you a little link to another tutorial, it'll actually show you a little piece of software you can download and use for that. Just bear with me, I'll grab that for you when that loads. Okay, whilst that's loading, let me just check. Can you guys see the can you guys see my mouse cursor for this? I'll turn it on. Oh, you can. Good. Okay, let me bring that. It's basically the McDo setup, how to program the McDo. It's got some stuff in there that you can use. Also, we'll work out flex temp as well if you want to go that far and get that. So for working out flex temp on the trim setting, check that out. So Zidge, yeah, how do you work out the trim? Sorry, wrong one. So Chris, with the autopilot, make sure that you've got your dead zone set, and of course, if you've not seen my video on user points or flight plan discontinuities, have a look at those as well. Let me know if you want a link to that. But basically, we need to avoid them at all costs. That is an obese first officer. Alright, we've got both engines going. Yes, we have. So let's get external power off, which should have been done, of course, before starting the engines. Naughty, naughty. APU bleed off and turn off the APU. Engine mode selector to normal. So far so good, everything's still working. So all we're going to do is I'm going to use reverse thrust to push us back out of here, and that's just because I don't want to go through Microsoft Flight Simulator clearance, delivery and all that. They won't give you a pushback unless you've got clearance, as far as I know. If that's wrong, let me know. Asset Man on Twitch learning loads, thank you very much for watching. That's interesting. Why are we going forward? That's better. Of course, we will go forward if your thrust is at idle in the Neo. That is normal. That is how the real aircraft works. Atomic flight simulation. I'm having trouble activating holding patterns using the FMC. Any tips? Yes. The holding pattern in the FMC has not yet been introduced, so the option's there, but it doesn't work. Now, can you see that my aircraft has actually been panning round left and right, the view rather? Did you see that? I didn't change that, so is that something new? Can you see that, the pan? There we go, look, the view is moving. I'm not doing that. So who's doing that? That's not me. Let's bring up the view settings. Is this something new? Smart cam is turned off. Free look, cockpit, default, external view. That's interesting. So why was the camera moving around? I wonder if it's got some sort of, I don't know, panoramic cinematic view thing going on. But we'll have a look at that in a moment. There's a bit of a lag, is there? So as I'm talking live, you may not, the images may be a couple of seconds behind, but fair enough. Okay, so use the pushback helper app. I have seen that. I've just not got it downloaded, but I do see it keep cropping up every now and then. I'm just a bit dubious about adding new things to the sim. The more you have added to it, the more chance there is of breaking it. Fly me to Melilla one day. Oh, fair enough. Is the weather nice at the moment? So lots of people talking about the pushback helper app. That may be something I'm going to have a look at, just because it's getting so many good recommendations. Jap, did you update Flight Sim? We did indeed. This is the update, literally finished just as I started the stream, and I also finished downloading the very, very latest developer version of the FlyByWire A320. So everything you're seeing is absolutely brand new, so hopefully nothing's going to go wrong. So yeah, are there any performance updates? Theodore, for all I can tell at the moment, and I say this every time we get a new update, is it does seem to be a little bit smoother for me. So if you are getting a lag, that may be at my internet, because the actual sim, as I can see it, is looking very smooth. So that's that might be the reason behind that. So let's just set flaps 1, and the car's still getting in the middle of the taxiway. They've not updated that. So we've got flaps 1, arm the speed brakes, ding the cabin, Taxi lights on. They should have been on, shouldn't they? So we've dinged the cabin, and we'll just set our parking brakes as well to maximum. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to look to fly to 11,000 feet. The reason for that is, if you weren't here at the very start of the stream, we can now program the constraints that take us off in the stars, SIDS, or any waypoints you wish. Actually, just rewind the stream and find that out. In real life, of course, you do not really mess with the constraints of the SID. I'm doing it as it is so it's almost forcing it, we hope, we'll find out in a minute, to do a controlled climb, because as we know, V mode doesn't really work that well at the moment. So let's just line up here. Theodore, maybe I can turn the clouds up to medium. These clouds are on at ultra, but basically I think that's probably one of the few settings that are at ultra. Everything else is medium. I think there's a couple of highs, but other than that, everything is medium, high, and just a couple of ultra. Look at that. I now like that we've got predicted wind shear is there, and it's in orange, which is nice. It used to be in green. So we'll just turn on the TCAS, TARA. We'll turn on the weather radar as well. TO config is all set. Okay, let's see what happens. We are going to do just a toga takeoff for this. We're not going to mess about working out the flex temp. So side stick forward slightly. I'll be interested to see as well, of course, if any sensitivity settings have changed throughout this. So let's get in the air and see if we get a nice smooth transition when we turn the autopilot on, or whether it throws us around a little bit. Murad, morning from Australia. Well, I put the link for the developer mod in again, please. Yeah, that's a very easy thing to do. Oh, I've missed 100 knots because I was talking, so let's just pull back. That's a good smooth takeoff. Positive rate. Gear up. Not quite sure where the flight director's taking me. That's wanting to move over to the left, which is quite clearly not where we want to be headed. So that's interesting. Just following the flight director just to see what it'll have us do. And set climb thrust. Of course, as well, if you wanted to do this properly, we should have turned the packs off for takeoff. Okay, so pop the flaps up. What I'm going to do now, I'm going to engage the autopilot and see what happens. So it's actually banking us to the left, which is interesting. See how it handles that. That is a very harsh turn. That shouldn't happen. There's a protection mode that's gone well out of the window there. We shouldn't be able to bank this harshly. Okay. So we're also descending rapidly as well, as you can see. Oh, and now we're climbing again. And I'm going to guess we're climbing because it wants us to pull the drop the speed. So Anthony, you also have the problems with the AP turning your left as well. Okay, well, you know what? As long as it's something we know about, we can deal with it. So what I'm going to do now is we'll go direct to Delta Whiskey 024. Insert that. See what happens there. And that's good to know as well. Let's see if we get the QNH transition altitude messing about in a second. Right, so autopilot is not banking us left as it should be. So we just take that off, pop that back on again. Will it start to bank us left? No, it's not following it at all. That's a shame. Alright, let's try a different waypoint, because that is part of the the SID. So let's go direct to Liffey. This was working previously. So let's go direct Liffey, see if that does anything. We're still flying straight. So it looks like that we do have a slight problem. We've got the QNH is flashing, so that is good, that works. That little bit of coding, so that's nice. So we can set transition altitude. However, as we can see here, we are completely disregarding the direction that we should be flying. Alright, so let's do a manual turn for this, see what happens. Oh, in that case this is bad. At the moment it looks like LNAV is completely broke. Oh dear. So lateral navigation seems to have gone out of the window. That's a shame. You may want to I'm gutted, absolutely gutted that they broke that. How quickly do we think the good team at FlyByWire can fix it? Alright, Autopilot left the chat. Certainly seems that way. Okay, I've turned the autopilot off for the moment, and I'm just going to fly manually, which is not something we have to do that often, to be honest. Yep, so there does look, as Anthony's just said, there's some major problems with the autopilot. Not completely unexpected though, is it? We have to be honest. Whenever there's an update, we expect things to go slightly wrong, and well, there it is. Although, I must admit, I did expect at least the heading mode of the autopilot to work. Autopilot works without the mod. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me in the slightest. Elias, I hope we will not get this issue when we will not depend on Azobo's code. Absolutely no. Absolutely right. Yeah. Alright, so it looks like we're doing without autopilot for now. We'll still look at taking us across the sea. So the problem with the Airbus, of course, is you can't just engage the autopilot for altitude selection. When the autopilot's on, it controls your heading and it controls your controls the altitude at the same time. So what I'm going to do is, if it seems that the heading bug no longer works and manage mode no longer works, then let's just see if we can climb up to 22,000 feet while still controlling the no, autopilot is actually, yeah, the flight director, whenever you turn the autopilot on, it banks harsh to the left, and it banks far harsher than it should be able to. Let's knock that off. The crazy banana, does the wing dip still happen? I've not had the wing dip for a long time now, but it does depend on having a stabilised approach. Paul, heading worked for you, did it? Oh, that's interesting. When was the last time you upgraded the fly-by-wire mod? Interestingly enough, this is the very, very latest one. So whatever coding was in the developer version of the fly-by-wire mod as of about half an hour ago, then yeah, that's the one that we're currently on. Does the stable version work at all since the update? I don't think the stable version worked since the last update. Perhaps someone can correct me with that. Everyone was on the original, everyone was on the dev version. And certainly the dev version I've been using was probably about 2 weeks old until this flight when I downloaded it. Hat-Trick Co, good evening, watching on Twitch. Sim Racer Flight Sim, good evening. Hello from Sweden. So Elias, yeah, thought so. So the stable version's broken. Unfortunately, it looks like this latest dev version is as well. But you know, the patch update, it's only, what, 6 hours old, if that. Elias, does the banking still happen when sudden wind appears? If you're talking about just general wind shear, I mean, that's normal. If you're talking about the aircraft practically becoming inverted, then that's not something I've experienced. Eastbirds, greetings from Ghent in Belgium. Good to see the test flight. Hope you've got a sit bag. Hello from Wiltshire. Hey Daniel. Is the wing dip a bug or me being bad with the A320? It certainly was a bug. I don't know if it has been eradicated. I personally have not had it for about a month or so now. Alright, I'm going to get the aircraft up to 22,000 feet and yeah, we're literally flying manually for this. There's definitely an overactive ground effect when coming into landing the A320, so the key to that is you need a very stable approach. If you've got a crosswind coming in, then well, anything can happen. And if anyone wants to see what happens when you have got a crosswind, just check my channel out for the landing in oh, where was it? I think it was Copenhagen. So it was live weather. There was a crosswind there. The approach was absolutely spot on, but the moment you made contact with the ground, it all went wrong. Oh, Elias, I'm talking about the oscillation that happens when the autopilot is on. There is a fix to that, whether that still works now following this. The fix was disengage autopilot, turn off sec 1, the spoilers and elevator computer, turn that one off, and then you could re-engage the autopilot, and that was it, it was all fixed. So yeah, apart from that, so that's why we're getting the issue. The mods based on the Azobo code, we take some parts and make them better. Our plan is to be a separate code base and 100% independent. Of course, that would be great, wouldn't it? If that works. Is this the fly-by-wire social to 20,001? It is the fly-by-wire. It is the latest dev version, which I'm sad to report doesn't work. Well, the autopilot doesn't work. So I'm going to just slow our descent down in a little bit. Just checking where it is we're actually going to after this. I said we were going to do a test flight over to Manchester, so the landing could be interesting. So if we do an arrival on runway, we'll go runway 23 right, just because I know it's got the ILS. ILS 23 right, and we'll do the Mersey 1 Alpha. I don't particularly want to go via Manchester, but it always takes you over there, unless that's something else they've fixed. I'm guessing not. Of course I'm flying manually, aren't I? I need to keep an eye on that crosswind, because that is going to push me off course. 74 knot crosswind coming from the right. Is it turbulence right now or malfunction with the yaw dampener? That'll just be turbulence, looking at that crosswind. So that's okay. Do I need to delete the master version if I want to install the dev mod? I think just the simplest way to do that is if you're talking about the master version, do you mean the stable version of the fly-by-wire aircraft? Just simply remove it from your community folder. I personally don't use the installer just because I don't like to have any programs that I don't need on my simming computer. Try and keep it clutter-free. But if you want to use the installer, I think that will just overwrite it for you. I'm sure Ilyas can help me with that. And just wanting to level off the aircraft. Oh, is the master version what they call the dev version? Oh, fair enough. Yeah, just delete the one in the community folder and download the new one. Pop it in there. Should be fine. But the stable version at the moment doesn't work, so if you download the stable version, that's not worked since the last patch update. Kyle, the old dev version seems to be working fine. Well, I have got an old one from a couple of weeks ago saved on my saved on the desktop, so I may have to have a look at that. What I will do that after I finish this stream. Then I will pop the old dev version from a couple of weeks ago back in and see if I get the same issue. I'll update the video description about an hour or so after coming off, so come back and check and see what the latest information on that is. Crazy Banana, do you have any idea when they will add a replay mode? I'm afraid I have no idea. Now I did read in the, this is just going back to the Autopilot, I did read in the developer notes that they did say they'd overhauled quite a bit of the Autopilot for all of the airliners. They didn't seem to go into too much detail there, so I can't say anything as to what it is, but perhaps that's one of the reasons that we've got this issue now. As you can see, the flight director is trying to drag me over to the left. It looks like the altitude is about right. It's wanting to hold. Bear in mind, remember, Autopilot is currently turned off, but the flight director seems to get the vertical profile correct, but not the lateral. Should I avoid updating the dev option? For now, maybe. I don't know. I know the FlyByWire team will be on this already. I'm sure they will. Have the ground textures and mountains visually improved in the USA already? No, ideally. The reason I have no idea is, one, we were in Dublin, and two, we once you've downloaded the update, you then need to go into the store. What's it called? The where you download extra content. The content manager. That's it. I couldn't think of the name for it. You need to go into the content manager and download the additional update for America, just as you did with the Japan update. So Chris, don't waste your time. I'm running that version. It's doing the same thing. Oh, fair enough. So it looks like we're banking hard to the left. That's unfortunate. Alright, let me just have a quick look at where this flight plan's taking us. Enter destination data. Oh, fair enough. However, we already have, so we'll clear that. Monty, Wrexham, Wallasey, Mersey. Then we hit the decel. There we go. So the enter destination data. I'm not quite sure why that keeps popping up. Unless it's to remind us to enter the performance data, which is here. So that's fair enough because we've not entered any of that. Oh right, I need to bring up a chart for Manchester in order to do that. Just bear with me, guys, while I grab this, just so I can enter that data. We're arriving runway 23 right, ILS. So transition altitude 5,000 feet. Why is that not allowed? Oh, there's another bug. Unless it's because we're getting that destination data warning sign. Nope, you can't enter the transition altitude either. Looks like we've been sort of locked out. We keep getting messages in the scratch pad. Oh, that's annoying. Hey Dominic, good evening my friend. We're currently working out what's broken, which unfortunately seems to be quite a bit. So at the moment, flight director doesn't work, which means essentially the autopilot no longer works. You can't even enter heading mode. So we're manually flying, which is something I've not done for a long time. Restart the flight director. That's a good idea. So we'll turn the flight director off, and we have to do that both sides, of course. If we re-engage the flight director, no, we're getting the same thing. Good idea though. Good idea. Dominic can't even get the update to work. I don't think you're the only one with that, to be fair. Jeep, they really should introduce gliders in Flight Sim. Is that because you don't have to worry about any of the electronics that go with it? Ziz, how much do you think a lot of payware aircraft would cost? Thinking of buying the premium. Oh, no idea. When you look at the price of sort of like the FS Labs and Project Magenta, then it all becomes very scary, doesn't it? Okay, do you know what? This isn't going to work, but I'm going to do it anyway. Let's go direct to Wallasey. Enter that. And if we enter manual mode, if we enter manage mode, what happens? Oh, that's interesting. Oh, hang on, I didn't turn on the autopilot. Oh, there we go. Autopilot on, sick bags out. Let's turn that off. No, Dominic, I'm not taking the A320 to Netherthorpe. Alright, so Christian, at least you don't need to input a transition altitude to get rid of the destination notification. Just the QNH temp and wind. At the moment, I don't even know if we can get rid of that in the scratch pad. I haven't got any of this information anyway, just because for the test flight I didn't grab it. Put the you know what, we're on live weather actually, so if someone in the chat quickly grabs the current METAR for Manchester, we'll pop that in, see what that does, see if we can get it in. So we just need the QNH, winds and temperature. Let's see if we can get the minimum descent height in there, which is 449. So if I clear that, 449 minimum descent height. Oh, that goes in. That's all right. So at the moment, that's good. 30.15. That doesn't help me. What's that in English? So we need hectopascals, please, if possible. Ladies and gentlemen, if you look left, you'll see the ground directly beneath the aircraft. That's up there with we don't want to worry anybody and everything is completely okay. By the way, does anyone know how to fly a plane? Because the autopilot doesn't. Alright, can we at least get the auto thrust? Let's check that out. Let's pull this back to 250 knots, and I can hear the engine spooling down, so that's something. 1007, thank you very much, Niels. Let's pop that in. 1007. 180 at 8. 80 at 8. And just the temperature to get in there. So we can grab me that. Oh, there we go. There's the full METAR. Thank you. So it's 11 degrees. Oh, I tried to pop that in the TA. That's not going to work, is it? There we go. So yeah, just can't put the transition altitude in for some reason. That's a random bug, isn't it? Why is that? Never mind. Okay, so we shall start our casual descent. It's cold, we've got clouds to descend through, so get the auto, get the icing on. Fact for you though, the pitot tubes are automatic. They have automatic icing on the A320, so you shouldn't ever get that error. They're used mainly on the ground. So the pitot tubes have got protection built in when in the air. Oh, is it even worth trying to do an ILS approach? Oh, do you know what? We'll try it. It's a test flight, isn't it? What's the worst that could happen? We become a stain on the Pennines. Let's just check on the RadNav page. Have we got the information we need? Oh, that's updated a little bit since the last time I saw it, but that is the right frequency. 109.5, 109.5, India, no, oh, is that right? I've got a code there of India Mike Mike, however the code for the runway is actually India November November, so that's not something I'd noticed before. Mark, I heard that some third-party variables were messed up with this update. Yeah, I always like to come and see just how much messed up they are. Turns out quite a bit. So we'll vector ourselves in for the ILS, see what happens. Didn't know it was sunny at Manchester. It's dark down here at Heathrow. I'll tell you what I've done, because it was a test flight. We are on live weather, but quite obviously we're not on live time. I didn't want to do a test flight in the dark. That would just be crazy. Christian, you can input both QNH or QNE in the McDo now. Yep, got that done. Sorted, thank you very much. Autopilot de-icing is the icing on the cake in the A320. Yes, but is it modelled? That's the next question. There's a point. Do you reckon when we fly through all the clouds in a moment, when we fly through that, are we still going to get a ton of icing on the airframe of the aircraft? Mark, the overlay doesn't seem to be working. No, you are correct. I'd not set it up for this. I don't use it. I only use it when we're streaming live proper flights. Not for a quick test flight. So that's the reason that's not been programmed in. Ladies and gentlemen, we've begun a final approach into Manchester. If you could assist the cabin crew in with any help they require, please leave your full sick bags on your seat as you depart at the airport. Okay, let's just pull the aircraft back a little bit in terms of speed. Sid, how often do you stream? Normally, during the day, definitely Monday, Thursdays, Fridays, and usually a Tuesday as well. Sometimes I can get in on the evening too. I'm not on voice though during the day, as I'm actually working in the office, so I need the voice turned off for that, but I obviously reply in the chat. I know what we've not done. And I don't think this is going to work. However, let's just test. So we shouldn't be able to bank more than 67 degrees. Let's see what happens. Okay. And if I let go of the side stick, we should automatically revert back to 33 degrees. This is helping with the descent, isn't it? Oh, we have reverted back to 33 degrees, so that's okay. We shouldn't be able to pull up more than 15 degrees. 25 degrees, sorry. And, whoa! Okay, yeah, that's broken. Alright, so some of the aircraft's auto protection built-in systems are also not there either. I thought that'd be fun to test that. Let's get back on with this descent, shall we? So, we'll get the spoilers out. And we'll start heading right back towards the airfield. Cabin screw. Assist the cabin crew by screwing down everything that moves. Awesome. Michael Berg, does the A320NX work fine with the new update? Oh, I'm afraid to say no, it doesn't. Sorry to break that to you. I am hoping, however, that give it a couple of days and we'll be back to normal. Doesn't normally take the fly-by-wire guys long, does it? Turn on the hero pilot mode. Any pilot that flies the A320 manual across the Irish Sea should be deemed a hero, surely. Okay, so I'm going to turn the ground proximity terrain radar on because there are pennines down here, and as I'm not following the star, we're flying technically VFR and we're in clouds, so that's not allowed. 10,000 feet. If we just pop in here direct to runway 23, it just gives us should give us track miles. Has it done that? Not quite. Seems to be descending rather rapidly though, doesn't it? Can we have some elevator control, please? There we go, auto trim just went for a day off. Richard, surprised you're flying so soon after the update. Oh, mate, that's what's making it fun. To see if we actually can fly so soon after the update. Okay, let's turn the landing system on. We're 20 miles out, which means we're not actually going to be on profile for the ILS at this rate, but never mind. Might as well make it night. Yeah, quite right too, I might as well. Alright, so we've actually got the localizer and the glide slope there. The glide slope's just below us. If we just do a sort of rapid descent, we'll catch up with that. Brian, I can't turn the engines off in the Neo and the VFR map is not working again. Oh, that was an old problem that we had, wasn't it? Oh, hello, is that the ground? Just see us dipping out the clouds a little bit now. Alright, so we're now on profile, at least with the glide slope. Start to bank right and keep that profile. Let's just have a quick look outside and see if we're full of ice. Oh, we're not. That's interesting. Ordinarily, after that descent through ice, through clouds, would have normally had some ice build up there. Do you reckon they've fixed that? Or is that being too optimistic? Oh, Theodore, you mean the 747 engines? Ah, I'm afraid I can't help you there, mate. I wouldn't even know how to start the 747 engines. Not properly, anyway. 30 foot off the deck, the nose of the plane dips for me. Richard, that is not a bug. The real A320 does that. Oh, look, I've got the standard flashing. That's awesome. Because for anyone that watches my live streams, they'll know I get too involved with the chat. I always end up missing setting the Q&H to local pressure. Usually one of you kind people in the stream with me is watching that and it reminds me. Okay, flaps 1. By the way, the Neo allows +6 plus 6,000 feet per minute. Is that crazy? Yes. Yes, it is. But quickly, just going back to the fact that the nose lowers after 30 feet, that is not a bug. The real Airbus A320, you've obviously got a horizontal trimmable horizontal stabilizer which works automatically, as you can see it as you fly it. When you get to 50 feet above the ground, it memorizes its position, holds its position, and with that it then slowly starts to lower the nose, just so it gives the pilot a more natural feel for flaring. So if the nose is dipping, you need to pull back gently, that is, just at the flare mode. So I have got a landing tutorial which helps with that. Alright, so let's have some fun. I'm going to turn the approach mode on and turn the autopilot on. What happens? Okay, let's turn that off. Alright. It's fully broken, isn't it? So we're going for a fully manual landing, which is nice in this weather. When do you think the autopilot issue will end? Good question. Next? I don't know. To be fair, the only thing that was really wrong with it at the moment, or the issues that I'd had, was the fact that we tended to struggle with managed mode climbs. So I just used VS speed for that. That was the only problem I had, which I could live with. You could get around it, couldn't you? Just done a flight Innsbruck to Zurich after the update. Autopilot threw you into a mountain. Do you know what, Kevin? I'm surprised. Was that on takeoff? Because at the moment autopilot's not working at all. Alright, so we're just lining up with the ILS here. Oh, there we go. We can go visual. I can see the runways just come into view. Alright. Do you know what? I'm not going to mess with the autopilot anymore. Let's reduce our final approach speed about 140. See what happens when we land. If we land. And flaps 2. I'm here, good evening. Captain ACQ, my hand is sore because I had to fly manually for 2 hours. I know, we're not used to that in the Airbus. What's that all about? Manually? The last time I flew this long manually in the Airbus. Yeah, I can't remember that far back. Okay, let's get the gear down, add a little bit of drag. The stable mod for fly-by-wire autopilot works, does it? I didn't think the stable mod had worked for quite a while. And flaps 3. Oh, Kevin, you were using the stable mod. Yeah, I didn't think the stable mod worked. Not this update, the last update. So yeah, I'm just chasing that glide slope a bit. This is what happens when you have to hand fly. That said, if anyone does want to laugh, check out the stream from yesterday evening when we landed at Enfida, and we almost landed on a motorway highway, as Enfida Airport is apparently not lit up at night. And flaps full, spoilers armed, cabin ready. Oh, I don't think the cabin care anymore. I'll just get on that glide path. Just as a bit of knowledge, if anyone listening doesn't already know it, on a normal ILS glide path, if you're doing about 140 knots, anywhere between 130 and 140 knots, you want to be descending at a rate of about 700 feet per minute. 750 feet per minute, just a general rule of thumb. Keep you on profile for that. I can probably reduce the speed a little bit actually, just for that. Slight crosswind coming over from the right. Yeah, Richard, you're right there. The new sounds are absolutely awesome. Do you know what? I've just realised I've made a huge mistake. Well, not huge, but I'm actually I've got the ILS for runway 23 right programmed in, and I'm going visual for 23 left. So that's why the ILS isn't lining up. Don't worry about that. If you're wondering, is the ILS broke? It is not. Alright, Jack, we'll pop an auto brake on just for you, my friend. There we go. And there's that lovely view coming into Manchester Airport. Just at the threshold to runway 23 right. If you can't see it obviously in the sim, but there's a wonderful pub called the Airport Pub, and that is a cracking place for going and viewing takeoffs or landings. Can see all the car storage places beneath us. That's nice. That wind has just spun round from the opposite direction. That's interesting. It was coming from the right. It's now coming from the left. So let's see if we get any sort of wing dip or anything like that as we come into land. Just zoom out a bit so we've got a bit more peripheral vision.
100.
Approach looks stable anyway.
50, 40, 30, 20.
And we're not getting a nose pitch down, which we should, so I can't flare that much. I'm actually... oh, we're bouncing. Yeah, so normally, we spoke about this a minute ago, the aircraft pitches down and you have to flare back up. However, there was a massive ground effect there, which I've not experienced, not for a long time anyway, whereby I couldn't get the aircraft to drop altitude, even though the thrust reversers were at the throttle was at idle. Alright, so in summary, after the latest patch update, patch 7 I think this is, current fly-by-wire dev version sadly doesn't work. Once again, it has broke it. At least you can get it in the air. Before, we've had problems where you couldn't even turn the screens on, but unfortunately the autopilot doesn't work at all, and it's the lateral navigation here, left and right. It just wants to kill you basically. The flight director is completely messed up. It's locked over to the left hand side. Doesn't matter what you do. Also, you can't go into selected heading mode. That doesn't work either. If you go into selected heading mode, it doesn't do anything. The aircraft just continues to fly straight. Couldn't really test it too much because we had to turn the autopilot off, but altitude holds seemed to, the flight directors on the altitude did seem to work as it should. Unfortunately, I couldn't test the new constraints, the settings that they've worked on. You can now actually go and edit the constraints. So, yeah, that's unfortunate. If anyone's got any questions now, please do ask them in the chat, because now I'm on the ground, I'll go back to the chat and have a look. So, Theodore, this is why I keep a backup of planes from the last version. Well, I have got one on the desktop. So what I am going to do is I'll stop the stream in a bit and I will go back, pop the old one in, just see if I get the same issues. I'll let you know how that goes in the comments to this video. So have a look. Did you notice, David says, did you notice any bugs in the latest patch? Oh man, David, I've only looked at the A320 just because that's the aircraft I know. Unfortunately, yes, there is. Richard, that's my kind of landing, bouncing along the runway. Yeah, it's not normally mine, but hey ho, we all have a bad one every now and then. I'm going to blame the patch update. Mark, I've never seen the alleged wing drop on landing. However, I never do an auto land. No, to be fair, mate, I've not had the wing drop, not for a long time. However, full automatic landing doesn't seem to work anyway. If you do that, you kind of end up just bouncing on the ground, because it doesn't. The aircraft doesn't automatically flare, as the real A320 should do. I made a much better landing than my landing today. I'm gonna Yeah, blame the sim, mate. Nice landing. We're on the ground. Good night from Toronto. Good evening, Anthony. Thank you for watching. Keith, bit of a float there. You're not wrong. Couldn't get the nose down, and that is not something that has happened previously before the update. Christian, love landing early in the morning. When you get the coloured clouds. Whatever you say about Flight Sim 2020, the graphics are blooming good, aren't they? Mr. Aviation, hello. Here in 85, don't fly too low, your wheels will get robbed. Fair enough. Over Mottram Moor. So Keith's right, the FlyByWire team pretty quick at updating the sim, so they'll be on it. They'll be on it already. I know they will. They'll have been reported to all these problems. Daniel, when I add the A320 to the community folder and when I open the app, the plane doesn't appear in the hangar. Same happens with other planes. Daniel, check out, I've got a tutorial making sure you actually put the right folder in the community folder, because it can be confusing if you're not careful. The best way to check it, of course, is if you have got the mod in there, then you will have this rather beautiful looking FlyByWire app, FlyByWire livery. So yeah, that's the way to check that's working. Punisher, your strobes are off, mate. But you know what? That is the least of my worries. I'm still on the runway. I'll just check they work, shall I? Strobes are now on. Oh, there we go. Yeah, well, at least we can say the strobe lights are still working, so that's good. Theodore, should I update the A321 to the latest cockpit, or should I keep it the same? At the moment, I would keep everything the same. Just because. Chap, I feel a VFR butter landing coming up. It was a smooth landing, but it took a while to get down there, didn't it? If anyone has got any more questions quickly before we log off, I think that's about it, isn't it? So, to summarise, we're going to have to wait a while until FlyByWire can go in and do their magic, and I'm sure they will. I will look forward to bringing you more live streams once they've got that repaired. So, until then, the next live stream is planned for Thursday during the day. So please hit the subscribe button to be notified of that and other content that will come from that. I had planned on releasing a tutorial tomorrow on the constraints that had been added and how to manipulate those to almost get a bit of a VNav going on, but that's now going to have to be suspended, given that that unfortunately the aircraft is not currently working. Alright guys, we're going to leave that there. Thank you very much for tuning in and watching. I hope that has given a little bit of, I can't say it's given you any help, but it'll certainly tell you what to expect. As I said, I will just pop in an old dev version of the aircraft as soon as I finish the stream, load that in and see if I get the same issue on takeoff with the autopilot. I'll let you know in the comments, so check this back again shortly in the next half hour or so, and then yeah, I'll let you know what happens. Alright guys, once again, thank you very much for watching. Please hit subscribe. The support for this channel has been amazing since it started, and I thank each and every one of you. Look forward to seeing you all again soon. Goodbye for now.